Well, let's talk now to Jonathan Brash. He is the Labour MP for Hartlepool. Jonathan, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Peter. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I just want to ask you about Labour's immigration plan today, because Starmer has been accused of mimicking the Tory hostile environment campaign over immigration. He has said that around 13,500 migrants have been removed since the election. Presumably some of them have overstayed their visas and things like that. But when it comes to those who are coming across in small boats, still a massive problem, over 20,000 of those. Do you think Labour and Yvette Cooper actually have a plan to deal with this, where the Tories clearly failed?
Well, I mean, you're completely correct to say the Tories completely failed. And look, yeah, I do actually. You know, enforced returns are up 25%. Actually, boat crossings compared to the record in 2022, we inherited a situation where we were going to break that record. We're now nowhere near that. So they're down a quarter on the record of 2022. But there is a long way to go. I mean, any boat crossing, frankly, is one too many. And we have to get them down. They're far too high at the moment. We have to get this problem sorted out. But you're not going to do it through juvenile politics of, you know, talking about gimmicks like Rwanda and spending £700 million sending 4 volunteers.
I kind of agree. Sorry to interrupt you, Jonathan. I basically agree with you that Rwanda wasn't going to work. I think it was an expensive thing. Yeah. I don't know if gimmick's quite the right word, but certainly I don't think it was going to work. But currently, where do you believe the deterrent actually is to stop the pull factors of people coming over here? Is there a deterrent?
Well, yes, because you're going to be returned. Enforced returns are up 25% already. So the idea that you get to come to this country illegally with no right to be here and will somehow remain, you know, we're working to just get rid of that as a concept. We're doing deals with countries like Germany. Just on Monday this week, there was an arrest of 13 people involved in smuggling in a joint task force with Germany. Good cross-border cooperation, deals with Iraq to tackle it. We're working with Italy. Italy has seen a 60% reduction in their small boat crossings as a result of the actions that they're taking. So we're forming a joint task force with them. It's grown-up politics, getting away from the headline-grabbing nonsense and actually getting down to deal with the problem. We're starting to see it in the numbers, but there's a huge way to go.
So tell us a bit about this. Tell us how Yvette Cooper is going to get a grip of it. What is she actually going to do? And what's she going to do that's different, do you think, than what the Conservatives have done?
Well, the first thing is you have to sort out the problem that we've got right here in this country. You know, when we took office, there was 224,000 people on an asylum waiting list. And that means that up and down the country, there are people in hotels and houses, you know, housing, no hotels in my constituency, but there's clearly housing that's having to be given over to house asylum seekers waiting for a decision. Now, the first thing Yvette Cooper did was divert a lot of the money that was being wasted on things like Rwanda into that fast-track returns. That's why enforced returns are up 25%. But then you've got to unpick the gangs that are allowing this situation to happen. And that's why deals that were done with Iraq, done with Germany, the task force in Italy, all of those things are about dismantling the network that causes this problem in the first place. You've got to deal with the problem here at home, and we're doing that. And then you've got to work with international partners to dismantle the gangs that are allowing it to happen. You've got to do those two things in tandem. But look, it's been 5 months, you know, of an inherited system that was completely broken by the last government over the previous 14 years. It does take time, but we're already seeing in the numbers you've quoted this morning, that we are starting to make progress, but there is a long way to go.
Reform UK came second in 98 seats across the country in this election. I know they came second in your seat in Hartlepool. I think I'm right in saying that. I mean, how much of this is the Labour government actually wanting to solve this problem, and how much of it is it looking over its shoulder at Reform UK? Because I think there is actually a very lazy assumption, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, that Reform is a threat electorally just to the Conservatives, but actually it's a big threat to Labour as well.
Of course it is. Oh, there's no question about that. But here's the difference. Reform UK don't want this problem solved over the next 5 years because that's their political ticket to try and win. They don't want this problem solved.
You're saying Reform UK don't want illegal migration to be solved? Really?
They want to see Labour fail in this task over the next 5 years because they want to politicise it as an issue. I agree 100%. We have to solve this issue. A, to solve the problem, but B, to show the people in Hartlepool, because listen, I speak to people in Hartlepool the other day. I said this in the House of Commons the other day. They are furious at the situation that is in this country around asylum and immigration. Absolutely furious. They want it fixed, and they want it fixed quickly. That's what I'm here to do. That's what Labour is here to do. We need to succeed it's solving this problem.
How quickly do you think they can succeed? When do you think we'll see results? Because over the last 5 months or so, Labour has prioritised many things. They've talked about, the budget was there. Obviously, they're saying they're fixing the foundations and so on. But a lot of people feel there just hasn't been enough action on this. Now we've heard from Keir Starmer in the last 10 days. We've heard from Yvette Cooper in the last couple of days. Now's the time for action.
Well, you said it yourself this morning. Actually, we are seeing the action. Returns are up. We are signing deals with international partners to dismantle the gangs. We've got a border command force that's working to stop these issues. We're fast-tracking returns. We're getting the number of people on the waiting list down. But I think we just have to be realistic about this. You cannot, in 5 months, solve a problem that was created in 14 years. It will take time. We are starting to see results, but we're just getting on with the job. And, we're not getting into this sort of desperate sort of gimmickry that we saw from the previous government. We're actually just getting down to hard work.
Tell us what you think about the story in the Mail on Sunday today about Starmer's surrender squad undoing Brexit. This is a team of 100 civil servants. He's accused of betraying the 2016 vote on Brexit to leave the EU, as a 100-strong Whitehall unit is launched to tie Britain back to Brussels. Presumably you wouldn't agree with that characterisation, but there are real worries, including from our viewers and listeners, that Brexit could be undone.
No, I mean, look, language like surrender squad, I mean, again, that's just the juvenile politics that got us into this mess in the first place. The deal that was done with the EU by the previous government has to be renegotiated by law, the last government set in place. So we need people to renegotiate with the EU. We need the best possible deal. The deal we got was terrible. Ask business and industry right here in this country whether the deal we've got with the EU is good, and they will tell you unequivocally it is not. It is stifling the British economy. So we need to have a good deal. We need to be, again, acting like grown-ups, creating proper trade deals with our partners across the channel in order to enrich British business and enrich British jobs. It's a completely sensible thing to do. And scaremongering about it, I'm afraid, is just the politics of the past.
Jonathan, we've been talking a lot about loneliness on this programme in the last hour or so. It's really been a theme that people have phoned in about, talked about Christmas and so on. I just wonder, in your constituency, what kind of actions are you taking to make sure people aren't lonely? And of course, there will be a lot of your constituents, I would imagine, very annoyed about the winter fuel allowance being taken away from people as well.
Well, absolutely. Look, I mean, Christmas is a really difficult time of year for a lot of people. That's why next Thursday I'm hosting a coffee morning here in the constituency where anybody can turn up and be there. And on things like the winter fuel, it's why I've held successive drop-ins, working with our Citizens Advice Bureau, and we've managed to get £300,000 of additional annual income for Hartlepool pensioners this year because they weren't claiming the things that they were entitled to, and we're helping them that way. But it's a huge issue. But the great thing about towns like Hartlepool is we've got so many community organisations, so many charities, all working together.
But should it be down to charities, Jonathan? I mean, you didn't come into politics to take people's winter fuel allowance away from them, did you? Yet you voted for that.
Well, look, as I've said to you before on this programme, I agree. I'm sorry, I agree with the principle of means testing. My dad was a GP for 40 years. He does not need help with his energy bills at winter. He can well afford it. And for those people who were just over the threshold, we're putting support in place. As I've already said, we've managed to get £300,000 extra for Hartlepool pensioners since that decision was taken. There are always going to be challenges. And I agree with you. I don't think charities should be having to step in. I believe in the state helping people. I believe in getting rid of poverty in our society through the actions of the state. And that's what we're working towards. But right now, if there's people in need, and we've got fantastic community groups in Hartlepool who can do it, I'm going to support them doing that all the way.